I had a kid I worked with pretty recently who had a 900 on his SATs.
Okay.
Bright kid. He was in honors classes and couldn't understand why he was struggling so much on these tests. And so I said, "Don't worry, I got you." I go, "Let me show you how I took him through the program. Let me show you how they're writing the test. Let me show you why you're picking this answer. It's actually because they're telling you to." And he's like, "What? Wait a minute, what?" I'm like, "Yes." And I tell my students, cross it off, write this down. This is actually what they want you to do. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then that's for reading and also for grammar. And I said, "Also, let me show you the rules they're following." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then for math, I said, "Let me show you how they're pointing you in the wrong direction to pick wrong answers." It's like, "Oh, okay." I go, "Let me show you strategy so you don't get those wrong. Let me show you the formulas you have to study, etc., etc."
Welcome to the On Par podcast. I'm your host, Drew D'Alberto from the Winners Award Group showroom here in Coconut Creek. And I've got a guest today. Avi Frier is here from ScoreMax. How's it going, Avi?
It's going well. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Happy to have you. So, we met through golf in a certain way because I met your soon-to-be wife through 6 Degrees Golf, of course,
Yes.
with a godfather. And, we kind of had lunch and talked about golf. And, you told me you had a crazy hole-in-one story that you witnessed, and I want to hear that story first. So let's start there.
Well, this happened a number of years ago, and we were playing as a twosome. They paired us up with another twosome. We're like, "Okay, fine, we'll play with you guys, sure, no problem." And the guy was not a very good golfer, but nice guys. And, he's hitting the driver off a short par 3, and I was like, "Okay, fine, that's all good." And he literally hits a dribbler. It hits the cart path. It hits the cart path. It hits the cart path. And the water's right, and somehow or another it curves around the water, dribbles onto the green, and goes in the hole. And I was like, good for him. We're celebrating for him. It was just the most improbable thing I've ever seen in my life.
How close have you been to a hole-in-one?
Oh, I landed near the hole and rolled past it. I've probably within a foot or two, but. Never got one. Made an eagle on a par 4, which I guess kind of counts. But
eagle on a par 4 is a big deal. I almost had one of those that I just smashed a 5-wood, but my buddy was up there because he hits the ball way longer than everybody we know, and he saw it kind of roll past the hole. So almost an eagle is not an eagle though.
No, I actually hit a 5-wood. That's what it was, and
okay.
Everybody thought I hit it over the green. Or they nobody could find the ball, and I was like, I might just look at the hole that was in there. So it's like, okay, that was fun.
Eagle's a big deal.
Eagles
I like
fun.
that. I like that.
So, haven't had one in a while.
Especially, you told me you're kind of in my bogey golfer kind of realm, but you played in the Harbor Lights Classic for Children's Harbor, and you had a professional golfer, a.k.a. my co-host on this podcast, Sean Kicker.
Yes.
So how was it playing with a pro?
Well, Sean just hits it straight down the middle every time.
Every time. Did he miss a fairway all day?
1.
1 out of 14.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
All right.
And I probably hit 3. So.
And you hit 3. Okay. Did you hit the one that he missed? Is the real question.
Yes.
Okay, so you were valuable.
I did. There was my contribution for the day. I think I ended up making like 1 or 2 putts. And maybe 1 or 2 iron shots, and the rest of the time we were just watching him.
Well, I'm convinced Sean only lets me play with him in a scramble because I can putt.
There you go.
He doesn't have that confidence all the time on putting.
On putting, yes.
So, okay, good. How did Tamir play that day?
She played great.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. No, she'll say she played terrible, but she doesn't really play.
She got a couple best balls.
Yeah, no, she made...
a couple of drinks.
I think she made like a long putt,
right.
and she hit a couple of shots to the green and had a good time, but she's learning the game right now, and she's getting more and more interested and enjoying it, and that's all that really matters.
Well, she'll get better faster than we got better because she won't try to kill the ball.
That's correct, yes.
That's a big deal.
Well, no, actually, no, if you don't know Tamir, she's going to try to kill it.
Yeah,
she's going to try.
I got to get to know her better than
yes, no, she's going to try to crush the ball, yes.
Okay, and then, so how about the transition into, how do you use golf for business? and I know that you've been in different businesses. You're an educator for
Yes.
a long time. Now you're still an educator, but you're an entrepreneur also.
Yes.
So how does golf weave its way in, other than obviously charity golf tournaments, which you were one of the sponsors
Yes.
for Harbor Lights? You were telling me about another nonprofit dinner you went to last night. So how does that all kind of tie in with the charity golf and playing golf in general?
Well, for me, I've been an educator for my 27th year as an educator, and for me, getting involved with educational foundations, the first one was the Russell Foundation.
Russell Education.
Yeah, and then this one, of course, was Children's Harbor, and getting a chance to sponsor things that help work with kids and helping in the community, just because, when it comes down to it, doing education the right way and really actually helping kids. And don't get me started with the way our educational system is right now. It's just...
Oh, no, I want to get you started. Listen, it's okay.
It's really unfortunate the way things actually are, and I'm glad that I'm blessed that I'm able to do things my way and where I feel like I'm actually helping students.
Well, so elaborate on it, because I got two kids, one's in high school, the other's in 4th grade. I got a 10th and a 4th grader.
Okay.
So I want to hear from your perspective as an educator for almost 30 years, what's going on exactly? I mean, because I have my own thoughts, and I have my own thoughts on whether or not college is the right answer for my specific kids. Like,
right.
I'm not going to get into is it right for everybody and anybody. I think, obviously if you're going to be an engineer, a doctor, an attorney,
yes.
you're going to college.
Yes.
But before we even get there, let me back up a step and let you kind of give me the rundown on education.
You're actually hitting a couple of points that I'm going to hit. And
bring it, Avi. You're the expert. Let's go.
I was in the classroom for so many years. I was a math professor, a math teacher, and I saw a lot of really bright kids who really just struggled on standardized testing.
Mm-hmm.
And these are kids who should be doctors, who should be lawyers, who should be engineers, but for some reason these tests were like the block, they were the wall. So I just did a deep dive into how they write the exam, created a curriculum for it. Didn't even realize this little passion project ended up becoming a company.
Okay.
And it sure did. And so now I'm able to actually help these kids get into the colleges they want to get into, get these degrees they want, get scholarship money, and then we have successful young men and women. It had nothing to do with effort, it just had to do with the way they write those exams.
Okay.
So for me, there's start there. For a lot of the really, really bright young men and women, where this test is the only thing that's stopping them, but the schools don't teach how to truly understand standardized testing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's being a disservice to those kids who really should be able to get ahead, and they can't because they can't afford it, so they can't get the scholarship money. They just don't understand these tests and what they're doing. So there's the first thing that where kids are getting a disservice. And then we go ahead and you go on the other end of the spectrum with kids where, let's say, I've met a lot of entrepreneurs who are just really good working with their hands. So, and they make very good money, extremely good money. Like, look at the infrastructure here in South Florida. It all needs to be replaced. And we're talking about billions of dollars of money where people can be making so much money. But instead, no, you have to have, that kid needs to be going to college. Well, no. Why isn't that kid going ahead and building our infrastructure here in South Florida that we need so bad and let him make millions of dollars? So let's have him learn to do that. And when that would be something that he would be extraordinarily successful at, he or she.
Yeah.
So I think, I think we're talking about in both ends of the spectrum, where a lot of kids are just, you're right. College isn't necessarily for everyone. Mm-hmm. So then the school system is failing those students.
Well, I haven't been in college in a while. It's been about 20 years since I graduated from college. But I can tell you that half of the people that I was in a dorm with, and it was a 5-story dorm.
Yeah.
Half of those people weren't there in the second semester or the third semester, right? So a lot of people go to college and waste a whole bunch of money and time.
Yep.
And maybe it's not the right fit, and you'd rather learn that it's not the right fit maybe before you go spend all that money.
Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely, get these motivated young men and women to learn a great trade and make tons of money. And
No,
tons of money.
and
And
it's
he's wildly successful.
The weirdest thing I found is that this is now a politicized thing, right? Like if you vote one way, you're supposed to think that college is terrible, and if you vote the other way, you're supposed to think it's the only way. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is politics even involved in this all? I mean, it's a business decision, it's a financial decision, it's a career decision. It shouldn't be political in any way, but I learned that it is.
If anybody thinks there's supposed to be one way for everybody, they're out of their
They're
minds.
smoking drugs.
Yes.
100%. 100%. I agree with you 100% on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this story was built out of the company was built out of necessity. You, as an educator, saw that there were flaws
Yes.
or holes, if you will, in the education system for standardized testing.
Yes.
So then now you have a secret sauce involved with your tutors, and you were telling me about that. So
Yes.
how is it that you go about finding the right passionate educators? Because that's one of the hardest things any company has to deal with.
That's true. When I was creating the program, I was a curriculum writer, a test writer. So when I was looking at it from the way they write the exams and wording they use to play psychological games with kids, which they do.
Okay.
It's so mean. It really is mean. But when I figured it out and I was able to understand what they're doing, I took some tests myself. I was like, my God, I got a perfect score every time I take these SATs. Why didn't anybody teach me that when I was a kid?
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work with math competition students at schools years ago. So I contacted some of these students who also did teaching and tutoring in the program. So now they're graduate students at college, brilliant, who still enjoy tutoring and teaching. They love doing it, even though they're doing other projects.
Okay.
So we're talking about graduate students at like Berkeley and MIT and just amazing young men and women. And I said, well, I have this, if you'd like to do some tutoring and teaching, let me show you what I've got. And then I showed them, and they're like, yeah, we love doing teaching. We don't have the opportunity to do it now. Still love doing it, really. And so I said, okay, let me show you what I'm doing. And every single one of these then said, I wish someone had showed me that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have had to study so hard. Because that just makes it much easier. And so with that, working in word of mouth with a lot of and so I actually am working with some of their friends who are in these wonderful institutions have experience of tutoring and teaching. Because teaching and tutoring is so rewarding. Where you actually work, and so they love it. These young men and women are just so talented, and they just love helping people too. It's unfortunately the educational system. There's no money to be made in there. It just isn't. So, but now they are actually making very good money working with me.
It's an interesting way to do it, and I mean, I'm sure that the other benefit, and I can tell you this from, I know people that work in the Broward County school system. My mom is one example,
yes,
who I've introduced you and Tamir to. I know some other folks that have very good friends of ours that their wives work in Broward County administration, and I mean, a lot of their frustrations is all the different red tape, if you will, to go through, and they kind of like us agree that they're not teaching practical skills and
yes,
forget about the college side of things, but practical skills. So I know that you're doing really well and growing, staying in your lane of SATs, but have you thought about adding classes for like building credit or learning how to actually use a bank account or because
life skills? Yes.
I used to be a banker. And we would go in and talk to some high school students as a pro bono thing when I was at Wachovia back when I first started my career, and nobody had a clue.
Right.
So is that something
that's very interesting?
We've
We've focused on not only with the SATs, ACTs, but also with all different courses like maths and sciences and English and things like that. But life skills like that is very interesting to teach to students, especially because there's so many opportunities for kids to be able to save, to be able to invest, tax-free.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden they'll have millions of dollars. There's so many youth investment opportunities, as a banker, for that they can do that. completely tax-free, and they can actually contribute more, and parents can as well. Things that they probably don't have any idea of exactly how to invest and what to do. So I completely agree with you, because when I was a kid, no one taught us that. Heck, when I was a kid, no one taught us nutrition. I didn't learn about proper nutrition and proper exercise, and it wasn't in school until I was in my 20s, and I hired a nutritionist and a trainer and said, okay, you're doing everything wrong. You know, I mean, so you don't learn. There's so many things that are not life skills that are not taught in schools.
But have you seen the food they serve in the schools? I mean, you can't teach nutrition and then serve a plate of chemicals at the same time. So I think
it's valid.
It's almost a conflict of interest.
Well.
And now this is a hot button topic for me, because I just did the carnivore diet, and now it's carnivore keto, and ever since I stopped eating the poisons, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, you know, I saw this thing the other day about how the food pyramid was a total scam.
Uh-huh.
And we talked about that on my other podcast Twins with Vince. And it's really bad. I mean, it's bad stuff.
Did you see South Park did a thing on that?
No, but I'd love to hear.
Oh my God!
Tell me about that.
Dude, it was literally, I think it was, I forget who the character was about the food pyramid, and there was like a whole national crisis. It's like the food pyramid, turn it upside down. That was it. And then everybody's like, so you put proteins as the highest thing, and then the you know, the minor thing would be grains, just a little bit, and so and proteins and fats would be like the top, and then as opposed to grains being the biggest thing you have to eat. And they just, all you gotta do is turn it upside down. And you'll be fine.
Feel like I questioned it when I was a kid, and they were just like, no, it's fine, because nobody eats 11 pieces of bread a day. Like, how many sandwiches can you eat?
You know, it's so fun. If I ever want to lean out, just go ahead and just eat proteins for a few weeks, and all of a sudden I'll just lean out and be like, okay, I'm good to And we all love our sugars and stuff like that, but it is the fastest way just to lean out. Your body says thank you very much.
Don't eat junk food.
Don't eat junk food. Yeah, don't eat sugars. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I mean, I mean, you could actually create a whole university to compete with Jordan Peterson, because he's not famous at all, and and you know, just make it not apolitical, right? Because of course they politicize everything that guy says.
Unfortunately, they politicize everything everybody says. No, absolutely. But you know, it's weird how the school system, you know, people complain about the teachers, but the system is the one that puts teachers in a box to do things in just one way, and then what happens is that you end up with a lot of teachers that end up just doing things one way, and you know, and they become very rigid. So I know go back to your earlier question about, you know, who I hire and why. I've interviewed current educators, and they're very rigid in the way they do things, and I'm like, no, this is not how I do things. I'm like, so I'm sorry, you know, it's also like when you have a lot of students with, you know, learning challenges.
Yeah.
But they would be great doctors or engineers or things like that. It's like, okay, so how do you help them? How do you help somebody that struggled in math but actually is really good in math? And it's like, wait a minute, you struggled in math? So how do you go back and fix that? You know, don't just help kids with their homework. How do you go back and fix that so they can be successful later on?
I mean, a lot of it is mental, too. I mean, I remember when I was in 10th grade and I thought my poop didn't stink. You know, I thought I could just not study anything and just ace it all. And, you know, I went to school down here, so it was mostly true.
It was mostly true, but, yes.
You know, I remember in my geometry class, I had like a I can't do it mental block up. And until I got over that mental block, I couldn't learn it.
No, there's a reason for that.
Because if you think you can't, you're right.
No, it's actually, when it comes to geometry, a lot of students struggle early on, but it's actually very ironic with what you do with trophies, because everything is geometry and three-dimensional. But the thing is some students, and now we're going to get into brain chemistry and development.
Give me some brain chemistry.
And development is a lot of students too early don't have the spatial reasoning to be able to understand geometry on a paper and how it relates to like 3D. They can't picture it. Literally, you don't have the mental capacity to do that. Some students develop it early, some students develop that later. So if you try to do geometry right now, if you were able to just accept, say, I can do it now, you'd be fine because of your spatial reasoning.
Well, it's all just equations too. I mean,
no,
if
but
you know
the
the
biggest
equation, you can figure out the answer,
yes.
or just put it in AI and let AI do it.
Now we have the AI that can do it all for
Yeah.
us, but it actually is brain development where everybody develops at a certain time. But the problem with the school systems, they say, okay, no, everybody, you're 14, you take this geometry class, everybody's got to do it at that moment, but some students aren't ready for it.
Okay.
So, what do you do with it? And then you get this student who feels, helpless, who can't do it because they actually haven't had that development yet. And then you have students with algebra. I have degrees in mathematics. I failed my first algebra class.
Okay.
I swear to God, I got an F.
All right.
And my teacher told me I was stupid. And I was like,
Okay.
And I didn't, obviously I'm not dumb. I just didn't have a clue as to what this guy was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand what he was doing and how he was doing it. So I retook algebra, found out I'm just fine at it. And, the rest is history. But, that could have, and it's probably why I became an educator, because I understand students who get that feeling from a teacher who's so rigid in their ways that they feel like they've been defeated. And I love empowering students saying, no, you're not going to be defeated. You actually can. You can actually do this.
I got a student's question, and Sean would probably ask you this if he was here.
Okay.
Because Sean is like a phenomenal with kids golf coach.
Yes.
Like probably the best coach of kids I've ever seen.
Okay.
And he contests that golf. Students who golf have better focus. They pay clearer attention. Has that been your experience?
I've seen that as well.
You can corroborate
yes,
that
yeah,
story?
absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
I've worked with a lot of with golf kids. Actually, ironically, when I worked, going back over 20 years, I was a golf coach. I wouldn't call myself a golf coach. I was one of the teachers who happened to who I liked golf.
You were a golf encourager.
Yeah, so I was actually one who create all the matches and took the kids out to the courses. So but my golf kids, I had some of them in my math classes when I taught years ago, and you see a marked difference in focus, where if there's a challenge, they are very willing to find other ways to overcome it and work on that and ask questions that are very, very, I guess they're very much more focused. It's like, okay, I'm having trouble here, I'm not really sure why I'm having trouble right here, and then that's an easy fix, which is great. Mm-hmm. So I would absolutely agree with that.
And would you think that that's pretty much anything that gets them off of screen time? Like pickleball or tennis or working out or from my own observation, and I only have 2 kids to observe.
Yeah.
Other than when I was coaching basketball over the summer when I had 10 kids to observe. But, have you seen... I've seen where anytime they're off of their phone or video game, which fortunately for me is a lot of the time with my kids because they're outdoor kids.
That's great.
Swimming, my daughter will go in the pool and the phone is as far away as possible because we leave it at the house and walk to the clubhouse.
Yep.
So I try very diligently to keep them active versus... would you agree that that's your observation as well? Active in general, or is it specific to the golf focus?
It depends. I think when it comes to golf, you have to be very, very
mechanical.
No. A little bit more. You have to have more patience with successes and failures, because the successes are fleeting. And the failures, can also be fleeting.
Okay.
So you have to be more patient with those.
Okay.
I think a lot of sports with rackets, things like that, again, patience is key there because of successes and failures. You'll see students who play soccer, a lot of same idea, same patience. You'll see students who play basketball, a lot of the same patience. Sometimes you'll see that with a lot of student athletes. because number one, they're very physical, they're moving, and I tell this to families all the time: healthy body, healthy mind. You gotta get out there, be part of a team, be part of a sport, or even just working out. Just be physical. It's so important. So students who understand about that, I really have seen a lot of success with them, just because I think they understand that little failures come along and you can overcome them.
Okay. What other challenges do you see from kids? And obviously we're talking about high school age kids for 99% of what you do.
Yeah.
What other challenges do you see that maybe we, and I'll say we because I think we're in the same age range.
Yeah, sure.
That we didn't deal with when we were kids.
We didn't deal
that
with.
what are you seeing today that they're dealing with differently? Because we had no internet and no computers until kindergarten, roughly.
Right.
And they have, it seems like kids come out of the womb with a phone in their hand at this point.
Kids are kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's that much difference in the way kids are.
Okay.
Honestly, I would say possibly because of the devices, I think our attention span has been affected. So kids can't necessarily focus as well for as long as they used to be able to. So
what'd you say? I lost track. No,
exactly. I completely agree. No, I completely get it. It's so true. So I think that might be the one thing that would be a different challenge. Kids have access to information they never had access to before. A lot of people who should not have a voice may have a bigger voice.
Thanks, social media.
And that's you get unfortunately a lot of, but there's a lot of idiocy that gets credence. But I think that's always been true. Maybe more so now than ever before.
That's a fair point.
So there's a lot of things that have always been true, but I think it's just become on such a bigger scale.
Okay.
And more people have access to it. It's just I think that's the only big difference. But when it comes down to it, kids are still kids.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Avi. What's your biggest win? Like, give me a story about somebody you made a huge impact on them, and this is going to be a high school kid, I presume.
Right.
So give me a turnaround victory story, because we love a comeback story.
I had a kid I worked with pretty recently who had a 900 on his SATs.
Okay.
Bright kid. He was in honors classes and couldn't understand why he was struggling so much on these tests.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, "Don't worry, I got you." I go, "Let me show you how." I took him through the program. Let me show you how they're writing the test. Let me show you why you're picking this answer. It's actually because they're telling you to.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "What? Wait a minute, what?" I'm like, "Yes." And I tell my students, cross it off, write this down. This is actually what they want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then that's for reading and also for grammar. And I said, "Also, let me show you the rules they're following." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then for math, I said, "Let me show you how they're pointing you in the wrong direction to pick wrong answers." It's like, "Oh, okay." I go, "Let me show you strategy so you don't get those wrong. Let me show you the formulas you have to study, et cetera, et cetera." So once he went through the program, he's like, "Okay, I got this. He's practicing." And he ended up getting a 1400 on his SAT.
So he added 500 points.
500 points on his test.
That's a pretty good success story. Okay.
I had one more student who got an 18 on his ACTs. He wasn't college eligible.
Oh, wow.
And went through the program with him, and he got a 29 on his ACT, which is for SATs equivalent to a 1340. Mm-hmm. So he was basically like at around an 800 to a 1340. That was his jump. The ACT came back and said, "We think you cheated," and they wouldn't validate his score. I was writing letters. Mm-hmm. I was like, no. Right. But they made him take it again. He got a 28 the second time. They said, "Okay, we'll reinstate your original score."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, he did so much better they thought he cheated. And by the way, on 29, he got full scholarship.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Very nice. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah. So these were kids that weren't even college eligible, but very bright, very capable, and now all of a sudden they've got full scholarship to college, and they're successful now. So
it's a lot easier sell for me on college if you're not paying for it, for sure.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's a lot of money. Absolutely, yes.
A lot of money. So, All right, so how does the process work from start to finish? How does somebody find out, like, this is for my kid?
Well,
They go to your website and put an inquiry in, or like how do we...
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So they come to the website, they say this is what our strengths are, this is what our weaknesses are, this is what part of the program we're looking for, whether it's SAT or ACT or science tutoring or math tutoring or whatever it is that they're looking to do, and this is what their challenges are, and then we meet with the families.
Okay.
And we always sit down with the families and the students, and we have a great conversation, go step by step through the history and what they're looking for, and to make sure that we model everything we do and we just make it for that student. We always mold everything for that student.
Okay.
Because when parents call me and say, okay, how much is your program? So I go, well,
which one?
It's like, well, how about your SAT program? I'm like, well, okay, does your student only need help with the reading? Because I have had a student who I only helped to teach that student how they're writing the reading test to understand what they're doing. The student's like, I got it. And went up 90 points just because all she needed to do was understand reading.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to be able to make this the program, and we love doing that just for the student, for that individual student.
Do they take the test before they come to you all the time, or do they just start,
a lot of them, I would love for them to start with us so they can
can
really understand it before they take it.
Okay.
Because, why not go in armed as opposed to going in frustrated?
Okay.
So I think students have absolutely, but in school they give the PSAT in 9th and 10th grade, so we already have an idea of like what they're doing and where they're at. But I would love to have students fully armed to understand standardized testing, because as I said before, when I've been training my employees, when they see the program, these are students who are at Ivy League universities who already got perfect scores. And then they see my program, like, my God, I wish I had gone through that.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been so much easier. So whether it's a student, starting in the 900s, or a student who's, at MIT, the program is designed for students just to truly understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, knowledge is power, understanding is power. And these students get this confidence. It's like, wow, I can actually beat this thing.
I like it. Okay, well, ScoreMax.com, I presume?
ScoreMaxTutoring.com.
ScoreMaxTutoring.com. We'll have all the links for everybody there. I appreciate you coming up here.
Appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
It was
a
pleasure,
fun.
man. See,
Thank
you didn't have to be nervous at all. Piece of cake. And we'll catch you guys next week on the On Par Podcast. Thanks for listening.